we're setting this up. So what we might do is we'll play one of your videos first, just to let them see it, and then we'll come back to you. So if you hang on one moment.
Okay.
All living things are sea creatures, including humans. When you think about it, imagine Earth without an ocean. Imagine life without an ocean. The single non-negotiable thing that life requires is water. 97% of it is in the ocean. Take away the ocean, you take away life.
If you can sneak onto the reef and find a quiet hiding place, you can watch the whole seafloor come alive with hidden creatures.
Okay. Skype. There we are. Okay, so we've just watched the Anoko's video, which you were scientific advisor for.
Yeah.
Maybe perhaps, I suppose you could start by explaining why you were selected to be scientific advisor.
Well, I know Jody Lomax. I am familiar with her work. She's the director and the main choreographer of that. Can you guys hear me okay? Of that piece. And I had seen her work. Capacitor, the dance troupe, takes on scientific projects, and they use dance as their communication tool. And they always pull in scientists particular to the subject matter. So I had seen a very good friend of mine had worked with Capacitor on doing plant stuff, and they had taken the dancers into the rainforests of Monteverde for a week, and they danced naked in the rainforest. And this piece just brought home what it must feel like to be a plant struggling in the rainforest with light and space. And I thought bringing that visceral element to a scientific subject is really powerful. You know, more of a...
Sorry, Tierney, just to interrupt you. I think it's, if you're watching the live feed, if you've got that open, I think there might be a bit of echo from that point. So if you want to shut down that webpage, if you just leave the Skype open and shut down the other link I gave you.
Okay. leave the...
I think that's what it is. The LCAST page. Are you still there?
Shut the other one down. This one? Yeah, is that better? Is that better?
Yeah, it was
Can you
just
hear
a
me?
little bit of reverberation.
Okay, is that better now?
Yep.
It is. Okay. So being able to add a visceral element to a scientific subject like what the dancers could do, I thought was really powerful.
Okay.
So I now we have a bit of a delay.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, that's obviously a very interesting dance piece. Personally, I don't understand interpretive dance, but it was interesting. It was nice to see there was a scientific background to it. Your interest in this project, I suppose, comes from maybe your TED Talk and your passion for marine sustainability and for marine life. Maybe if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Well, of course, we all know that the ocean is facing an enormous number of challenges. For the fact that we're just pouring too much in and we're pulling too much out, essentially. Everything from overfishing to bycatch, ocean acidification, invasive species, deep sea drilling, the litany goes on, sloppy aquaculture, etc. So we need to pull out all our creative talent to tackle these problems. And that's where I've been excited. Are you getting a lot of reverb?
Not as much as appears as you are.
Okay, all right. As long as you guys can hear me, that's okay. So I've been very excited to work with, all sorts of different artists to raise awareness about the problems in the ocean and also about some of the exciting solutions that exist. And the more people we can draw into these solutions and the more fun we can make it, and the more we can pull at every part of not just our brain but our hearts and our emotions, the more likely we are to succeed in actually making the ocean a healthier place.
Okay. I suppose from our point of view, the video that you did show that there is a creative aspect rather than just getting students to write case studies on what we can do to improve the ocean and how we can reduce pollution, get them to think outside the box a little bit and getting them to express their interpretation of a problem and to represent it in maybe a different medium. From the entrance to this event, they're creating games. They're looking at a way of having some sort of interactive medium for this theme of marine sustainability and for marine life. Is there anywhere that they should be looking at? Are there really key points? I mean, everybody's heard the hot topics of there's pollution, there is changes in the water temperature and the water acidity and the water salt content. But is there things that people aren't focusing on that maybe they should be focusing on?
Well, let's see. There's I think a lot of people just don't understand the ocean. Certainly, that's a tough one to get across and make fun and sexy, so that more people want to do something about it. But plastic pollution, I think, is getting on people's radar, but it's sort of overwhelming. So I think not a lot of people know what to do about it. There are some really interesting technologies that are out there, like this one from Japan called Bless.
You're breaking up a little bit, Tierney.
Love to see in the gaming, in this gaming competition, is for the students to free to come up with technology in the game that doesn't exist right now, but should exist. And by that I mean something like, let's take, for instance, seafood fraud. Now, most people, when they order seafood, and they're ecologically conscious, they want to order a sustainable fish. They want to order something that is being caught in a sustainable manner. But there's so much mislabeled seafood. Some of it's done purposefully, some of it's just done by accident. What if you had a little handheld device where you could genetically identify the species of fish right there on your plate? That'd be a great game element, you know?
Yep, absolutely. Coming from a country where we had a scandal about horse meat being in our beef, that really would be a good idea to be genetically analysed, the species that we're eating.
Right. So I think when you're developing a game, it'd be great to think about technologies, make these little elements exist in your game, because they will then exist in the future. Also, something I'd love to suggest is to look into programs where scientific programs that are drawing the public into the scientific process, citizen science programs. And a really good website to check out is something called Zooniverse. On Zooniverse, you'll see several different ocean projects where the public can identify plankton, they can identify deep sea habitats, they can analyze cyclone data to understand how the future climate is going to play out. And by using those data sets and having, that's actual science being done by the public. And if that was woven into your game format, then you could, that could give your game a life long after the competition.
Okay, all right.
There's some other really good resources if your students just want to get up to speed on particular issues. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, we
or
can.
Is there reverb?
Every now and again
Okay.
You break up, but it catches up.
Okay. There's a really good resource if you go to the SeaWeb Marine Science Review. They have a nice archive and a good sort of summary of particular topics, the latest breaking science on particular ocean topics. So if your students want to get sort of what's the latest on each, be it marine protected areas or ocean security or plastic pollution.
Yep.
Let's see. There's also a bunch of, there may be some fun inspiration from looking at other sources, like NOAA has a game section. That has a bunch of different games in there for different age groups that could provide some inspiration. Discovery Channel Shark Week has some interesting ones. Like, for instance, if you want to pick what kind of shark you're most likely related to based on your personality.
That's an interesting idea, yes.
Yeah. So match what shark you would be. So there's a bunch of different places there.
Excellent.
But
What we'll do is we'll provide links to all those URLs to our students in some sort of follow-up pack. What I might do now maybe is just open it up to our students who are here to see if they have any questions for you. I mean, obviously you're the expert in this area.
Oops.
And I'm asking questions that I feel are relevant, but perhaps not what the audience here. So we're going to open it up and see if anybody has any questions for Tierney. I was hoping for more than a response than that. Any questions at all? No. Chris, yes, you have a question.
I'll just ask one. So we're going to play your TED Ed video, The Secret Life of Plankton. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Did you hear that?
I didn't hear that.
We're about to play your TED Ed video, The Secret Life of Plankton. And if you could just tell us a little bit about that video before we watch it.
Yeah. So this was a partnership with the Terra Oceans Expedition. It was a 5-year expedition. Well, this is where some of the footage comes from a 5-year expedition around the world ocean, taking plankton samples along the entire way. And a lot of the footage you're going to see was filmed from at sea with a microscope. So just the thought of that makes my stomach kind of curdle. It's hard enough being tossed about, but through a microscope. But what I think is really fun about the film you're about to see is that it's told by a dead fish. And
Okay.
so choosing a fun messenger in your game, thinking out of the box, creating a narrator that's engaging and perhaps unexpected is kind of a fun element. This film is part of a series where all the narrators are animals.
Are they all dead?
No.
Okay.
No,
Just the fish.
the first one is the only one that's dead. The second one's, the second one's a time traveler, and then the other one's a snail, urchins and snails. But this one's dead. So, and it tells a story, and I think that's another important thing is we are wired for story. We learn best when we're told a story and given a plot line and challenged, so that we stay engaged. So framing your game is really important if you can, really, really turn it into a story. Okay. So maybe that's a little introduction.
Okay. I think we may. Is there any other questions? No, I think we probably have maybe reached our time on the Skype call, and thank you very much for calling in. We really appreciate it. Hopefully, the games that are produced from this initiative will get to you so you can play them and you can see how they reflect the concerns of marine scientists at the moment and what we should be concerned with for the future. And thank you for the advice on thinking about marine problems and how we can maybe address them in a non-traditional format, not a case study format.
Yeah, and if anyone's got any questions, feel free to email me.
Okay, super. We will pass on your email address or an email address for you.
Great.
Okay, thank you very much,
Good luck, everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm just going to hang up now.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Okay, so here is Tierney's TED Ed video. It is about 6 minutes, and when we're finished here, we'll get on to the team building. What I have taken from most of the talks today, a couple of key things. From James, keep your idea simple. Keep it so that it is something that's manageable within the time frame that you guys have. Now we can hear me. Within the time frame that you guys have and within the resources and skill set that you have. Don't try to create, I was going to say Gears of War, but let's say Rudders of War. You're not going to create a AAA title in 2 months with little to no to small amount of game experience. So keep it something that's manageable. From Stu, the lesson I picked up there is focus on your mechanic. Focus on what makes the game fun. Try that, test that, make sure that's as fun and as well working as possible. Then build the game around that. From Tierney, bring in a story element. Bring in some sort of narrative. Generally, they are the elements that keep you coming back to a game, that you want to complete the game. You want to see what happens next. How does the story progress? How does it finish? How does it change depending on the choices you make? So keep all of those in mind as you're creating and designing your games. Okay, so we'll play the TED Ed video and we'll move on.
How did I get here? Well, It's a stranger story than you might think. I came from a world of drifters, a place few humans have ever seen. The world of plankton. I came from a batch of 1 million eggs, and only a few of us survived. When I became a larva, I moved among other drifters. My fellow plankton came in all sizes, from tiny algae and bacteria to animals longer than a blue whale. I shared my nursery with other embryos and juveniles, from clams and crabs to sea urchins and anemones. We drifting animals are called zooplankton. The most common animals here are copepods and krill. You could search the world over, but you'd never find a place more diverse than my childhood home. A teaspoon of seawater can contain more than 1 million living creatures. It can be a pretty tough existence, though. Trillions are born here, but only a few make it to adulthood. He may be no larger than a pinhead, but this crab larva is an arrowworm's worst nightmare. Epic battles between carnivores like these are just one way to get food. But the real powers of this place come from phytoplankton. Single-celled life that transforms sunlight and carbon dioxide into edible gold. Phytoplankton are the base for the largest food web in the world. During the night, many animals like me would rise up from the depths to feed on this sun-powered feast. I was part of the largest daily migration of life on Earth. During the day, I'd return to the darkness where I'd join my bizarre companions. Cannibals, like this sea butterfly mollusk that eats its next of kin. And comb jellies that beat cilia like rainbowed eyelashes. Some of these snare their prey with sticky tentacles, while others just take a bite out of their cousins. And siphonophores that catch prey with toxic fishing lures. But my favorite would have to be the crustacean Phronema. Its monstrous looks inspired the movie Aliens. It can catch tiny bits in its bristles, but prefers larger prey like salps. With 2 sets of eyes, this female prowls the deeper water. Prey in hand, she performs one of the strangest behaviors in the entire animal kingdom. With body parts from her victims, she delicately assembles a barrel-like home, feeding her young until they can drift off and survive on their own. Best of all, they make the perfect snack for a small fish like me. Here among the plankton, the food web is so tangled and complex, even scientists don't know who eats whom. But I do. At least now you know a bit of my story. There's so much more to me than just a tasty meal.
Okay, so that was Tierney's TED Ed video. As you can see, she talked about the story of a dead fish and how did it get to be a dead fish from larval stage upward.